he was doing, he hooked up that electric cord. The solar plexus is the place of the electricity, which is in the lower part of the body. It runs up through 7 chakras, which are 7 nerve centers or resistors in your spine. It impacts in the pineal gland and throws open the right hemisphere of the brain. You know, you've heard of like Buddhists and people and that meditate going, om, om. You've heard of that. And the energy comes up. Well, let me show you something. This is electrical energy. The 7 chakras are 7 resistors. And the international measurement of electrical resistance is Om. I mean, the people aren't just saying stuff because they want to be freaky and spiritual. This is all true. All we have to do is understand it. See, and when I tell you about this, the electrical energy comes up to the single eye of the pineal gland through the spine and energizes the right hemisphere of the brain. Look at page 1005 in your Bible. Page 1005 in your Bible. Revelation chapter 5 and verse 1. You there? Okay. And I saw in the right hand, which is the right hemisphere of the brain, of him that sat on the throne, which is the higher mind, a book, which is the book of life, written within. Within what? Within you. And where? On your backside, your spine, sealed with 7 seals. You're not reading this in the Hindu Bhagavad Gita. It's the Bible. But how come nobody ever showed this to you all the years you've been going to church? You know what? They haven't a clue. They haven't a clue. And the way that energy comes up through your spine, hits the pineal, and opens the right hemisphere of the brain is exactly the way the sun comes up from December to April, hits Aries, moves in the northern hemisphere to the right side, and summer comes to the world. Or summer comes to the northern hemisphere. That's exactly right. That's why it happens. That's why you meditate. You meditate to duplicate the energy of the sun. That's why the Jesus is crucified, sits in the tomb, and then rises within you, sits at the right hand of the Father, means sitting at the right hemisphere of the brain. So we now see, we don't have to imagine anymore. Now we can make contact. So what do we have to understand here about making contact? We have to, first, is the power turned on? Can you give yourself, can you give the time? Can you take the time? This thing doesn't cost any money. You don't have to read any books. You don't have to study any courses. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Do you think before a goose up in Canada can fly to Acapulco, it has to go through a course in miracles? Obviously not, and I'm not knocking that. But there is nothing to read. All it has to do is goose. That's it. It goes around and it says, here I am in Alaska and it's getting cold. What am I going to do? I'm going to freeze. But suddenly something in the goose is flipped on automatically. Beep. Whoa. Let's go, Murgatroyd. And they all fly, and a whole bunch of them are out of that place. They heard the goose say, I'm out of here. When they all took off, and they all fly. And then do they know where they're going? Do these gooses know where they're going? They don't know where they're going. Have no idea where they're going. But they fly because something inside of them is saying, I'll direct you. You just fly. You don't have to study. You don't have to have a map. You don't have to know anything. You just fly. And here they're up in the cold in Alaska, and the head goose all of a sudden hears, as only a head goose can hear, la cucaracha, la cucaracha. What is this? I don't know. Let's land and see. I'm in Acapulco. How did I get here? I don't know. This is what you're missing. Be studying and Bible studies and all of this stuff. You're missing the Acapulco of your, what would we say? Brain, mind, because you won't just fly when you're told to fly. So you got to make sure the power is connected, and that is by energizing that pineal gland. And be familiar with the control room sitting inside of yourself. And they're basics, see. So you don't know how to make adjustments in computer chips and all that, but as you sit in the control room, as you sit in this meditation, if you'll just discipline yourself, and you know what about your kids? Don't you think your kids deserve the benefit of this? Do you know what you're trusting them to? You are saying, well, we're not going to have them into meditation. We won't take them to meditation. But we're going to trust them to that outside school. We're going to trust him. But all of these places, the government, politicians, oh, there they are. And look at the world. You've got more drug outreach centers in this country than you got AMPs because of the destruction. It's time to trust them. And the same wonder that shows a dog how to give birth, the same wonder that shows a goose how to go from Canada to Acapulco, the same wonder that brings back a robin from wherever he is to your backyard every year, that same wonder wants to take you to the place of safety too, and your children as well. But it requires you. It requires you. You just have to be still and turn on your amplifier. And then we'll raise the sound of the extraterrestrials by overwhelming the sound of your own thoughts. It says in Exodus 14, don't be afraid, be still, and you'll be lifted out of the trouble that surrounds you. It says in Isaiah 8:17, I will wait upon this Lord. I will wait upon these beings of light that we have called God. I will wait upon them until they come, and I will make contact with them. But you must know. You must understand how this works. You must realize that this is science. And you must look to these extraterrestrials or this power, call it God, whatever you want, for signs of importance. And let's see when we talked about earlier in the program. I mean, I don't know what else I could tell you. Look, I need to give out some stuff. But I don't want you to give it out right this second. I'll tell you when you give it out, I want you to give it out upside down. And I want no way to cheat. No cheating. Don't you? I know what you're going to do. Okay. Now look, come on with me, will you? Do this with me, because I'm going to show you something. I'll show you something. How many of you got socks on? Knock your socks off. I mean, I don't know what else you can do, but have things that say, here for God's sake. Hey, well, I taught you about Pegasus, the second coming of Jesus Christ. You don't have to. You can go out in your backyard with a pair of binoculars and see it. How many of you ever gone out in your backyard with a pair of binoculars to see it? We have 3 people that are choked up about the second coming of Jesus. See, you know, here the first time the guy comes, you kill him. The second time he shows up, you don't even look. So he's out there talking to his old man saying, I don't think so. I don't think they're really into this, you know, Dad. I'm not go back, son, the second coming. No way. No way. The last time they had nails, now they got howitzers and smart bombs. There's no way I'm going down. All right. Okay. Now, I told you about the outer court, the curtain, which is the web. And I told you about the inner place, which is, okay? Now, remember, I showed you, and for those of you who aren't here, Joan has the stuff. I showed you the Stedman's Medical Dictionary. You have the brain dura mater. You have arachnoid, which is the web. And you have pia mater, which is the holy place. Now, this is a significant thing. In other words, look, come with me. Go to page 70 in the Bible, all right? Exodus chapter 26, page 70 in the Bible. And in Exodus chapter 26, verse 33, look with me, okay? And you shall hang up the veil. Now, that's the curtain in the center, that you may bring in the veil in the ark, and the veil shall divide the holy place and the most holy. That's a short one-line description. You can find other descriptions of it. But the holy place would be the dura mater, the outer court. The most holy would be the pia mater. Pia mater means tender mother, and you hang up the veil between the two. And your brain has a dura mater, it has an arachnoid, which is a web, and it has a pia mater, okay? Now, when Jesus is crucified in that story and all this business, the curtain is torn down. That means that there is no longer a web to separate you from the Holy Mother, which is that innermost part of your brain. In other words, can you understand this? You are standing outside, and the center is this web, which is preventing you from reaching the Holy Mother, which is Isis, the Queen, Mary, whatever you want to call her. And when that web goes, Holy Mother is waiting to take you back into her arms. That's your true mom, waiting for you, inside of you. That's what the secret of all of this is. Now, how could this be conveyed about this web? What is the most fantastic mode of communication all over the world in 1996 on the planet Earth? It's called the World Wide Web. And Jesus comes back as the sun star in Pegasus, and you can see it with binoculars. And his name as the sun star, Jesus, in Greek has a numerical value of 888. And what is the new long distance number that is all over the world that without this sign you cannot dial long distance? The number is 888. Someday somebody's going to stand there with a white suit on and a helmet and lift his goggles and say, didn't you get the thing about the 888 and the web and all that stuff? What the hell? What you do? Did you listen to anything? If you turn off the damn television for a while and listen. Okay, so here then you have this thing, which is the most important thing inside of you, which is the curtain, which is the web. Huh? I'm going to hand these out, and I want you to hold them downward. I don't want you to look at them, please, because we want to share them together. Okay? I have a couple over here. Don't hold them down so they can't see them. Yes, Bill. Now, what I'm going to show you, if you'll take them, please just as quickly as you can, get them out, and don't look at them, okay? When we see you peeking, don't look at them. What we're going to look at is something that I think is absolutely amazing. And I think that you have an obligation then to consider this and say, just go ahead and just fast as you can till we can get them. We can see yours. Okay? All right. And for those of you who are watching, if you want one of these, send a postage, yes, self-addressed stamped envelope, and maybe an extra stamp. And, all right. What did we look at? Did you look at, now don't look with me. You looked at Exodus 26:33, and you saw about the curtain. And then I have previously given to you about arachnoid, the web, right? I don't want you to turn this over. But what you're going to see on the other side of this page is what they call the mother of all crop circles. It is in the mystical land of Merlin and King Arthur, the region of the Celts, the Druids, near Stonehenge, and around the second Uranus-Saturn conjunction, this crop circle was created by extraterrestrials around Barbury Castle near Silbury Hill in southern England. Turn it over and take a look at it.
Everybody got one of those?
Yeah.
Ask if everybody got one.
Everybody got one? Do you see the web? Why is it there? Will any of you say, why is it there? Who is trying to tell you? Why was this made in the Bible a pattern of something? What is it a pattern of? It is consciousness. They are in contact with you, telling you in a most magnificent way, folks, it's in your head, the web. And I'm telling you, I'm standing up here telling you this stuff, and for one reason only. Not that you join with anybody, not that you join any group. I don't want you to join any group. That you, in your individual personal privacy, find within, understand how your mind and your brain works, understand how you make contact with this wonder that is called God, E.T., whatever you want to call it, and then you look at this and say, God, look at this. Why is there a web? Why is there a web? Why is there a World Wide Web? Who is trying to tell us something? Did you ever have somebody tell you, do you think somebody's trying to tell us? Why is it 888 is the number? Why not 896 or 123? Why is it 888? Is somebody trying to tell us? Why have the astronomers found this second coming of the sun star? Why is all of this stuff happening? And is anybody paying attention? Is anybody listening? Is anybody looking? And you got these people in churches warning you of the wrath and the bombs and all of this stuff that's completely blasphemous against God. God never tortured anybody to death. God never put anybody on a cross. God never killed anybody. God is not coming with bombs. God is coming with flowers and love and pussycats and wonders and embracement to bring it all back together and to restore and bring back to some sensibility that which we have destroyed. And that's the beautiful part. See, it says in the Bible, here is wisdom. No man might buy or sell lest he has the number of the beast. But I'll give you new wisdom. Here is new wisdom. No man might call long distance without the number of the Christ. And his number is 888. Right? That's good. If you want it to be a coincidence, right away. But remember when Elijah was going to be taken up in that spaceship in 2 Kings? And the guy with him said, hey, Eli, I want to have the kind of power you got. You know what he said? When I take off, if you can see me, you'll have it. If you can't, you won't. Now, what I will do is get you to the front door. What I'm going to do right this minute is get you to the front door. And what I would ask you to do is not share this with anybody, because treat it like it should be. It's not for groups. It's not for teachings or whatever. You have an opportunity. People that are not here, no one will do this again. That's the way it is. And it's because I follow what I'm told to do. If you are not into this, if you really are not sure about this, you haven't studied this, you don't really know whether you want to do this or not, then don't do it. I don't want you to do it. Let me tell you why. And this will sound a little spooky to you, but anyhow, things that you're not aware of do sound spooky sometimes. If you take this, and as you get to the front door, and it will look you through the front door, 2 people will come. And at that point, you have to tell them something. And you have to know the right thing to tell them. Okay, so where are you getting that stuff from? Okay, when I left here last week, I said, now is the time. Now tell me, where do I find what you promised me? Because I got all these people coming. It's like inviting everybody to a party and you forget to order the ziti or whatever they have with those things. And then I was given and I found. I don't know how many of you ever heard of the Coptic. Coptic were mystic Christians of ancient Egypt. They were Gnostics, and a Gnostic is one who says salvation does not come from faith, salvation comes from knowledge. You have to understand. It's just like if I told Al, or I asked you to go in and say play guitar, and you didn't understand how to work that equipment, you couldn't do it. Okay? Now, when you understand and you have an opening towards this knowledge, I was taken to one of the ancient books of Coptic Egypt called the Book of Eo, the Book of Jesus. In this book, Jesus provides you, as one who will be willing to discipline yourself to him, with 3 things to get you through the front door. And then we'll go later if you're interested. A symbol that you have to use in your meditation, a name that is given to you that no man outside of this room knows the meaning of, and a number. And I've placed these on cards and in envelopes. When we go into the meditation, I would ask just those who are now ready to come and take one from me. For those who say, well, I'm not too sure about this, don't worry about it now. There'll be other times later. Let me show you. This is what the seal looks like. Okay. And when you have that card, what you will do is you will focus on that seal and you will concentrate on it until your eyes almost start to burn, until it beds itself in your consciousness. Basically, this is a quantary you have and that with a superimposed like that. And what that is this is the neutral here. And I don't know if you can, I'm sorry. This is the neutral here, and this is the spiritual here. Okay? Now, when you introduce that to it, you impact the neutral with a dynamic activity. So this is dynamic action. And so that's why that's very important. Second thing that's important are the circles, which are the never ending. And what is, I think, probably the most important is the octagon. The octagon is the 8 points. And what's so important about this is the square, which is the fourfold human nature, the circle, which is the unending. And then, which is interesting to you, what is so important about 8 is you'll be able to understand it as you go into your meditation and you see it why it's concentrating. But I don't know how many of you have ever seen a doctor's, the caduceus. Okay. In addition to that, I'm going to show you something probably even more than that, but you want to run these out as quick as you can because we're really keeping everybody. Whoops. If you look at that real quick, okay. What I'm trying to share with you is that these things aren't done for no reason. Is the air conditioner on? Okay. Yeah, that. Got that? Okay. What I want you to do, I want you to hold that in your hand like this. Got it? All right. If you hold that in your hand the way I've got it, now you got a Bible with you? Do you have a Bible with you? Would you please open it to page 296? And then page 296 talks about the construction of the temple. And the construction of the temple actually is your brain. It talks about the energy that rises up and goes to the right side. All right. 1 Kings chapter 6. And I'll show you something which is I think will be quite obvious to you. If you look at 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 8, it talks about the construction of the temple. The door for the middle chamber, that's the Holy of Holies, that's Pia Mater, was in the right side of the house, and they went up with winding stairs. Will you look at that symbol of DNA in your hand? You see that? That DNA is the winding stairs that's discussed in that scripture. I don't know if you've ever seen a better picture of a winding staircase than the DNA which you're looking at there. Okay? So basically, that's the importance of the number 8. And it is part of the DNA, part of the octagon, part of the 8 nature, and a lot of other things that, I'll get to you about. Okay. Now, if you would just for a moment put that down, and when I'm done here, you can come up, Albert, in particular, you would want to see this. I don't know how I find this stuff, but anyhow, I do. This is the word that you will use. This is your password, okay? This is your first password, which will get you through the front door. There'll be another one when the 2 comes, and after you give the second one to the 2 who will be standing there, they will move over to the left. Don't ask me. Just, I said it, all right? Okay. Now, when I saw this word first, my initial carnal mind said, oh, here we go, another mantra. We need this, like we need another hole in our head. So I sat down and I fired up the computer and I looked at Grolier's, and I have it here for you, and I will be glad for you to come after we're finished here and look at this. Azozeo, okay? Azo. Azo is a compound of 2 organic molecules, 2 nitrogen atoms. Aromatic azo compound is a light-absorbing group. Okay? Azo means light-absorbing. Jesus said, if your eye be single, your body will fill with light. Right? So when you say this word, it's like anything else. If you go apply for a job and they say, do you know how to do this job? And you don't know what to say. When you go and you take this with you and you say this word, I want you to know what's going on here, because this is only open to people who would know. The word zeo, which is the second part of the thing that Jesus gave this word, okay? Zeo comes from, or the word zeolite is a molecular sieve property. It is a filtering crystal. Okay? So basically what you have here is a word that you will use in entering, within yourself and entering this front door, which tells you of the fact that what will be coming into you will be light. You will be absorbing light that is filtered by crystal. A zeolite is also used for getting scum out of water and all that kind of business. Now, that word sieve, which I gave you from Grolier's as part of the scientific part, has an interesting, in the Egyptian system of hieroglyphics, they have a symbol for this. It is a symbol of the sieve. It means selecting particle forces needed to reach a required synthesis. To work carried out upon oneself, know thyself. To sieve is to purify and to perfect, to garner the useful and discard the useless. So you will have opportunity, and then if you get these and you decide, well, now wait a minute, I forget what he said. What does this mean? You just call me on the telephone and we'll go over it with you if you're using this. So you have what? You have the symbol to concentrate on, which you don't know what that is now, but I'll give it to you. You have azozeo, which is the word, and not only are you to use that in your meditation, and you only use it once. You don't repeat it twice. What happened to Moses? When God told Moses, he said, Moses, I want you to knock on this rock and water will come out. That's talking about the pineal gland of the brain. What did Moses do? Moses went like this. And he screwed himself up big time. God said, I didn't tell you to add anything of your own. I said knock. I didn't say knock twice. And he wasn't able to see the promised land. Why? You'll never see the promised land. You'll never make contact if you add anything of your own. And I don't care what books you're studying. I don't care what teachers you have. I don't care where you cannot add anything. You take it within yourself. I have given you instructions that are taken from the Coptic Gospels of ancient Egypt that come from Jesus. He said, that's the word, that's the symbol, and I'll give you the number. And if you think a number is not important, try to call me on the phone without using a number. I don't need a number. I'll call them up. Go ahead. Al, pick up the phone. But don't use a number. I want you to get somebody. You can't get anybody without using a number. Here's your number. You don't have to write it down. And I'll tell you something, and I haven't reached the point yet, but I'm waiting for one of you, and I know that I got some pretty good people in here who are pretty scientifically minded to find out that this is some kind of a scientific equation somewhere along the line. Fourfold nature, that's fine. The 5 senses, that's fine. The altar is 5 and all of this kind of business. The sacrifice is fine. The 5th month is May and so forth when the Passover takes place. But I honestly believe whether it be 4.555 or 45.55 or 455.5, I wait. But that's the number. And what Jesus said to do was focus yourself on the sign, say the name once, and hold the number in your hand. Now, you say, well, I'm not going to go do all that. But nobody said you had to. The point is, do you want to? The point is, are you at a point in your, what in God's name is this going to, how is this going to hurt you? Let me ask you this. How is it? What did Jesus say? I will give you a new name that no man knows. I will give you a white stone. I will give you a number. But now when you get to the point of somebody giving it to you, and I can see you looking at me, this is pretty freaky stuff. What is this guy doing? But say, do you want to or not? You know what I got in the most trouble? I really got people freaked out more than anything. When I first started doing this stuff, I told them God wasn't an American. What? God bless America. Don't tell me that. Then they got all of these English people running around Jerusalem, Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Timothy, and Paul. What are all these guys doing in Palestine? Find me somebody named Mary in Palestine. So now you're into something different, aren't you? You want to get in touch with people? You want answers to your prayers, don't you? Do you know you're going to have to get it from somebody that's 6,000 years advanced beyond you in intellectualism and understanding? And you want to talk to these people? And you want to go up to them and say, now I lay me down to sleep. I lay the Lord my soul to keep. If I awake before I die, blood bless Mommy. Let me have the new car. I'll never do it again. Oh, Jesus. Or do you want to do it right? Okay? Okay. We're going to go into the meditation right now. And what I am asking you to do, all right, is if you want to do this, then you come and I'll give you one of these cards. All right? If you don't want to get involved in this, no problem. There is no problem. If you're not going to discipline yourself to your meditation and to working on this, don't come. And I would ask you also not to repeat this stuff to people. Because these are for people who are willing to disciple themselves to Jesus. In other words, that which we know as Jesus is the universal cosmic entity. Call it ET, call it whatever. But it has given you specific instructions about making contact. Do you want to? And then once you make this contact, you'll come to me and say, hey, these two guys showed up. What do I say? And then I'll tell you. Okay? Isn't it amazing how freaky this gets when you take it out of religion? Because religion, you can't get in any trouble. Who's going to fall asleep in it? You give money, you sing Amazing Grace, get out. And, who cares? Really, who cares? Nothing ever happens. You don't believe any of this stuff. Fish swallowing people, talking snakes and everything. You don't believe any of it anyhow, so what the heck's the difference? But you do it for the kids' sake because you want them to grow up and be maniacs like us. I mean, kids got to have a psychiatrist just like you have, so let's put them through the same thing. Now, all of a sudden, you're being introduced to those who are coming. Closer than your breath. Sitting right in the chair next to you. I'm sure sitting right in the chair next to you. And if you could see who's sitting in the chair next to you, you'd get up and you'd run out the door. But are you willing? This is real. It's real now. So here we go. We'll do the meditation. I have the card. I'll give them to you. You use them in your meditation. And as I explained to you, this is what you do. You take the symbol. You stare at the symbol. You do not blink your eyes. Your eyes burn. It impregnates itself. That is the symbol given by Jesus. And I want you to go into your mind knowing that is the symbol given by Jesus. Yes. After you take that, you close your eyes. You have that symbol burned into your mind. You say Azozio. Once. He didn't ask you to say it. Say it specifically once. Each time you meditate. Yeah. You hold it in your hand and say 4555. And I'll give you some information about that. The guy shows up saying, we know what Azozio means, and we're pretty sure about the symbol. We're not quite clear on the 4555. But that doesn't make any difference. It knows that you're working in the right direction. In other words, all this means is you've graduated. You've come out of Sunday school. You've come out of religion. See? You're seeing the changes in the world. You're seeing the changes in the universe. You're seeing the changes in the cosmos. You've seen what I've showed you in the stars about Pegasus. And now you're ready to take a step. And it's like anything else. If you get there and you've got the symbol and you've got Azozio and 4555, it's just like as if you went and somebody, you want to call it an angel, is going to say, Charlie, there's a lady down there and she's got the password. Let her in. Where'd you get it from? Well, you know, the nut and fork and river's going around shooting his mouth off, telling everybody. Okay. All right? Okay. So let us, we're going, let me say goodbye to you. And how can I, well, we'll figure this out. You call me or, this is it. I'm not doing this again until I'm told to do it again. And I don't want you going to people who are not here and telling them about this. I don't want you telling anybody about this. This is for you personally. All right? I don't want to hear works, doesn't work. I don't want to hear anything. This is for you to use personally. It is only for one thing, for your growth, for your contact with the universe, with God, if you would, for your children, for your family, and to protect you from this horde that is out there that you call your society. This destruction that is out there, which has been so brutal, everything that is God of life and of course. Okay? When I am instructed to do it beyond the day, I'm going to do it again. But I have not been so instructed. And this is very scary to me because I know how significant this is. And I know how you give somebody a password and so forth. And Jesus gave it to his disciples. So you have to decide if you're one. If you say, well, yeah, I'm in Jesus. Jesus being a Jesus disciple doesn't mean you put something on your bumper sticker that says honk if you like Jesus and all of that. It means you practice the single eye. You cast your energy to the right side. You seek within yourself for the power. That's what he said to do. You seek first within yourself for the power. You separate from the thoughts of the mind. These are all the things that he said to do. You touch the penny of the wheel. If you do, then you're a disciple. And he would want you to have this because then you're ready. And if you don't, once again, if you lose track of what these things mean, I'll show them to you in Growlers. I will make a copy for you of Growler's breaking down to that word azozio so you know exactly what they mean. If you want that, you tell Joan, I'll make copies for you. I just didn't